Hi guys, what's up? So we have an interesting topic today, and that is a very much need in the current situation. Have you ever wondered going through your Facebook and all of a sudden you notice a photograph of yours 5 years back, 6 years back, and immediately you share it? Why do you share it? Because you always think, wish I was like that. Probably you would have been lean, probably you would have had a good hairstyle, probably you would have looked much better. Not that you're not looking good now, you're absolutely looking good, but then you always wish for to be like that, how you were 5 years back, and you share that memory immediately in the Facebook. We have seen people giving 15,000, 20,000, joining for the gyms, and the 2 days they go, and the third day they're not able to, because their heart is always want to be fit, but their mind is not allowing. We also feel that, wish I was fit, wish I was looking good, wish I was fit, I was able to fit into my whole favorite outfit. People are not able to go to gyms is because we cannot blame them as well, because we do have a lot of stress, be it office, relationships, family, and other commitments. We cannot blame ourselves as well, having paid so much amount for the subscriptions and not hitting the gyms. It is because we are stressed, we do not have time to spare time for our fitness. Back in the days, a lot of people only used to go for jogging, and they used to play cricket, football, and there was a lot of physical activity, but now we do not have the time. So that's where we gotta make time, make use of this lockdown, to get back ourselves, detox ourselves, and get back to fitness and get back to our old ways. And this lockdown, make a good use of it, and I'm sure you will never regret once the lockdown ends. So the downside of this lockdown is that we are exposed to a lot of food. So food can actually destroy us, now can also build us. So what happens here is, a lot of times we eat food not that because our body requires, not that because you are hungry, because a lot of time we do wrong eating because we are bored. So we are gonna to have a conversation with one of the nutritionists and a fitness coach on what is right eating and how we can make use of this diet plan and make use of the lockdown. So without much further delay, we're going to have a conversation with our fitness coach and a nutritionist who is an accountant by profession and who is also transforming lives in terms of fitness and right eating.
Hey guys, so today let's welcome Christo, who's a nutrition enthusiast, also a fitness enthusiast, and has been transforming many lives. So please welcome Christo. Hi Christo, how are you?
I'm good, how about you?
I'm doing good, thank you for asking.
Yes.
So we just want to know what inspired you towards fitness? And also could you please tell us about yourself?
Yeah. So basically, I'm an accountant by profession, but then my passion is to fitness. My passion is fitness. That's something which I always liked. Why? Because to transform life is very important. Not just being fit. You can be fit, of course, without preaching to them, without telling them orally. You can still influence people with regard to fitness by keeping yourself fit. And when you go to the next level of training people, and that gives you a more boost. So it's more about transforming people's life, and that's what gives you more pleasure, is what I feel, yes. If I talk way back before, how it was, when I was in a transition mode. So the idea was always to be aggressive. If you have to be fit, you'll have to get ripped. That was my notion, So if you look down upon people who are not fit, who are lazy, who are not doing what you're doing. So that's something which you look upon. So your mind is always aggressive. Oh, if you have to be fit, you'll have to get ripped. You'll have to do hard work, a lot of hustle. Not necessarily, After some vast experience and after being into this field and after talking to many fitness coach, gym instructors and nutritionists, have gained this experience. And today I have my own speculation about fitness. No diet, no nutrition or no food gives us a permanent solution. In fact, what gives us a permanent solution is our attitude towards it. So what matters is, I want to highlight this fact that your attitude, your thought process, your perspective of life and your mindset, this is what brings you everlasting results. I'm not denying the fact that one will not get the results if you have a wrong attitude. He will get it, he or she will get it, but will they be able to sustain it is the question. Will they be able to sustain it is the question, because eventually it burns down to character. So motivation can be given from outside, but eventually it will burn out. But the drive and the passion should be from within. So this is my view with regard to fitness, and mostly it depends on the person's attitude, thought process and their mindset. And if you continue to do this, that's the right attitude. If you continue being healthy, if you know what is to be healthy, and if you continue doing it as being persistent and consistent, and that's what gives you results. Yes.
So before we go out with the conversation with Christo, so I think we all people have a lot of opinions about going lean.
Yes.
Like consumption of water. Okay. So when I ask few people, they say that we have to consume a lot of water.
Yes.
And few say that you have to become a vegan, go vegan.
Okay. Yes.
So there are many opinions surrounding people.
Yes.
So can you please clear all these myths which is surrounding about fitness, and why it is not natural to people to become fit? Okay. Why it is so natural?
Yes.
So please clear it out for us.
Not necessarily. You don't have to give up your favorite foods. In fact, you can make a healthy meal and make that as your favorite. So there's no such thing as, you have to give up your favorite food. If you inculcate that habit, definitely that becomes your favorite. So that's something which I want to tell. Yes, gluten-free will definitely help you, because gluten is not good within your body. It's not required, I would say. Of course, most of the meal which we eat has gluten in it. So if you can go gluten-free, that will help you. It will also help with regard to your digestion. See, fat, the other name for fat is survival mechanism. Okay, the body hates to lose fat. Why? Because we are going against the starvation, or rather I would say that we are going against the survival mechanism against starvation. So basically fat is essential. I would say that it's not always a good idea to reduce fats. So fat is something which is essential, and you will have to be taking it in a moderate amount. Not really. It's not fattening though. There are people who are allergic to dairy products, but I would say that curd is very good for you, especially when you have it after your meal. Buttermilk and curd is something which is essential, but of course it also depends. You cannot have your curd at 1 o'clock in the night. I mean, it's nothing going wrong, but then still you should have timing, right? So that's something which I believe that dairy will, if you eat it in moderate amount, is very essential. But there are certain body types which will never be able to go with dairy too much. So that's when you will have to change. Vegetarian is good. See, going vegetarian is not really, for example, there are vegetarians rather, they don't have enough protein in their body because they're not taking enough protein. Of course, dal has protein, but then protein is very, very, very essential. So going vegetarian is good because in times such as these, you have genetically modified food, which is plant-based, of course, and animal-based. So it's not that important that you'll have to really be going vegetarian. Not really necessary. You can be a non-vegetarian and still consume a lot of salad. Yes, you'll have to definitely inculcate it. For example, there's no such thing as you'll have to be working out every single day and 6 days of the week. You can break that into a routine of 3 days in a week, maybe alternative days. So habit is something which will develop when you start doing it. Nobody hates to plank. But then if you start doing it continuously, that becomes a habit. So it doesn't matter that for it to become a habit, you don't have to really struggle yourself, ripping yourself out all the days of the week. Rather, I would say that you start off with 2 days and then 3 days, and gradually you can restrict with 4 days. And that's when you develop a habit. Lifting weight is again, it depends on what kind of weight you're lifting. Okay, it depends on what kind of fitness you're getting into. But weights are really essential. To build muscles, you'll have to hit the gym. And to lose weight, you'll have to hit the kitchen.
That was really eye-opening for a lot of questions. So now we shall move towards the next segment.
Yes.
So we have a few questions from subscribers.
Okay.
So you have to answer all those questions.
Anything which is getting you healthy is absolutely great. The focus should be on health. That as much as you reduce your frequency of eating is absolutely great. So if you can restrict with 3 times is absolutely fine. Calories should be counted, especially when you have already lost weight, and you'll have to be going on a calorie in and calorie out. When you want to lose weight, you're not supposed to be counting calories. Absolutely, to a certain extent, you have to reduce carbs, because I would say that carbs is present everywhere. I mean, every food which you eat. Generally, if you go less on carbs, it's absolutely great, especially with regard to junk eating. Yes, but you don't have to be really so, I would say, stubborn. You'll have to be a little mindful when you eat. Especially when you're going on a low carb diet, and especially when you want to lose weight, that's something which you want to look for. If you maintain a proper meal time, that really gives you a lot of, because our body has a clock. So when you maintain a proper meal time, it's great. As I said in the previous video, that a late breakfast and early dinner will always be good on you. I would say avoid sugar. Yes, sugar of any kind.
So Christo, which is good, playing game or doing physical exercise? Which is good?
I would say that you can switch your workout, because sometimes playing game monotonously, it becomes a routine and it kind of gets you bugged. But rather you switch to workout and then you switch to game. So both are a nice kind of switch which you do. Sometimes you just have to go for a walking or maybe a jog, and sometimes you can switch for a game. And when you switch for a game, you also play along with your people, along with your friends, and that's kind of de-stressing and also a physical activity. And I would say that you'll have to mix your workouts, and that's how it is getting it done. Yeah.
So I think so do you think pre-independence or few decades back, so people used to be healthy? Yes. So do you think that knowledge has not been passed on to our predecessors? Like our ancestors were healthy, but why this knowledge has not been transferred, or we have moved on to a Western lifestyle? Or what is that? What is the problem that why the fitness has become a problem to India? Why India is becoming fatter day by day? Why India is facing obesity problems day by day? So could you please?
Yes. So as far as I understand, most of us in this generation, it's not that the past knowledge has not been passed. It has been revolutionized, I would say. But in the past, if you see the occupation of people, it was more to do with physical activity. It was less to do with desk job. Now, if a person claims that he doesn't have stress, of course, he will not have an emotional stress. Of course, he will not have a financial crisis, forgetting about all the COVID situation right now. But then, if he sits in a computer for a long period of time, more than 10 hours, that itself is a huge amount of stress when you're sitting in front of an electronic gadget. So desk job is kind of one of the reasons why people are gaining weight, and also along with the desk job, also your diet also matters, and there's no physical activity also. That these all things adds fuel to the fire, I would say. And since the knowledge has been revolutionized, I would say that there are certain things which you can do. As I told you in the previous video, you can avoid sugar, and you'll have to do a certain kind of physical activity, bring in discipline into your life. A physical activity, even just a walk in a yard or a park or in your own corridor. If you can do that on a regular basis, that will really help you out, at least to have good reflexes, a good amount of stretches, which will help you out. And mostly what we have to do is we have to inculcate the habit of being physically active and also eating the right thing. That is very important. But if you compare the ancestors had organic food. They never had this thing issue with regard to fat, and they also had never issue with regard to carbs, because most of the carbs which we were taking, they were healthy, unlike today what we get easily on online, Swiggy or Uber, whatever it is. So I would say that if you stick to a lifestyle of healthy eating and right kind of physical activity, that will really bring a lot of results in your life and keep you fit and healthy.
So there's a principle called drink what you eat and eat what you drink. So what do you want to say about it?
Actually, I have no comments with regard to that. You can eat, like for example, there are a few people who follow some YouTube shake, maybe a kale shake. So that what happens when you have a shake, you can have a more amount of it. When you're eating it, you may not be having a more amount of it. For example, if you make an apple shake, you can take 2-3 apples and you can mix it along with the shake. So you're having 3 apples. But directly you may not be having 3 apples. But then if you're doing apples or any kind of fruit with regard to a shake, there's a lot of good content in it which will lose. For example, fiber and many things like that. So I would rather prefer to have it raw.
So I think you took a literal meaning of it, but there's a twist to the question.
Okay.
Like what I meant was drink what you eat means like chew the food like until it becomes liquid, and like drink water like so that the saliva gels with what you eat. So what do you say?
Yes.
What do you want to say about it?
Yes. So I would say that the reason why we have given teeth or the saliva which we have is to melt down foods. Of course, it's important for you to chew the food, but the rest of the digestion happens inside the stomach. The rest of it happens inside the stomach. So it is important to be healthy with regard to your stomach. You should have good stomach acid. Post 26, most of the men and women, they lose their metabolism. So it's important that you do the right thing to increase your metabolism. So chewing food is important, and at the same time you should also have a good stomach acid, a pH level, and good metabolism in order to digest the food which you're eating.
I have a few favorite habits.
Yes.
Like so having Coke after biryani, and having a dessert after the food, having ice cream. So what do you want to say about this?
Okay. If you ask me that, I wouldn't go for both, biryani or a Coke. Just kidding. So, generally when you have a biryani, your stomach has the capacity to digest the food. You don't have to really have this notion with regard to eating something, or eating something sweet or craving something sweet. That is just for pleasure, which they do. But there's no such thing as that, your food gets digested. No, nothing of that sort. In fact, I would recommend not to drink a Coke or not to have anything cold after you have maybe a rich protein food. Why? Because your body's temperature increases for the digestion process, and when you have something cold at that time, that's when it slows the digestion. So it's not a very good idea, I would say.
So this having a perfect diet and having trying to be fit, it's like too much. So could you please make it simple so that people can follow it?
Yes.
So can you tell a few basic simple things that could be avoided and that has to be done, do's and don'ts?
Yes. As I covered in the previous videos, I would say that you'll have to stick to a proper discipline pattern. That is very important. As I said earlier, your attitude is what matters. Your thought process and your perspective is what matters. So when you inculcate those habits, And when you continue to be persistent in those, definitely that brings you good results. I would rather, instead of talking so specific about the diet, I would say it's more to do with our character. So to be very simple, I would say practice a life where you can have a physical activity as a routine, and of course avoid sugar as much as possible. These two will really help you out a lot.
So, whom do you look up to as your role model in fitness sector?
I would say I've been influenced with a lot of people, be it from my young age. But then right now, I would say anything which is getting you healthy, anybody who speaks with regard to health, that kind of inspires me, I would say. Because anything to do with health, the aftermath of it is what we are. So one can lose weight by starving, but you'll end up being a malnutrition. So losing weight is never a problem, and it's become a rat race today. But rather, I should be focusing on health. Anything which is getting you healthy, anybody who speaks health, I would really listen to them.
So, which food is a big no-no according to you?
Anything which has more sugar in it is definitely a no-no, because sugar is not good for our body. It's definitely a no-no. Sugar is not something which I always enjoy these days. Yes.
And what should be the warmth of the food? It should be too hot, or mild hot, or it should be cold. So what should be the temperature of the food when we eat?
Okay. I would say that everybody prefers a hot serving because it's delicious when you have it hot. But then it depends on the kind of food which you take. Of course, you cannot have a salad hot, right? So that's something which is not essential. But I would say that you relish your food, enjoy your food. Probably more than we speaking about serving it hot or cold, I would rather say that when you eat and relish that time, and preferably avoid some TV or mobile phones, and relish that time with family even as you eat food. Maybe if it could go for even for 5 to 10 minutes, is absolutely fine. So enjoy that food which is being served, and it's best served hot, not the salads, of course.
So when a person should exercise, is it in the morning or evening?
I would say morning. Why? Because the whole night you've been sleeping and your stomach is empty. So it's best time to work out is when your stomach is empty. Yes.
So most of them say that drinking water after you wake up, it's very good, drinking warm water. So is it?
Of course, it has benefits. I mean, drinking hot water or just a water is fine. But I would focus on drinking water when you're thirsty. So because if you have too much of water also, you get dehydrated. Yes.
So what is the minimum requirement for our body? Like how many liters of water is required?
Preferably 2 to 3 liters when you're having a day of workout. When you're excessively sweating during summers, you have to keep yourself hydrated. Otherwise, you'll have to stick to this pattern that drink when you're thirsty. As I said, too much of water. Those who get dehydrated are the people who drink too much of water, or the people who have not kept themselves hydrated at all. Those who don't drink water at all. So drink when you're thirsty, and especially when you work out, you add a little more amount of water. Yes.
So South Indians preferably our staple diet is rice. So that's a carbohydrate. And you say we should avoid carbs. So it's a staple food. So is it necessary to avoid it? Because it's a staple food. Or is it not a staple food? Because in Karnataka they eat ragi. But in Tamil Nadu they eat idli, dosa, both in the morning and evening. So few regions have their own. So if you go to North Karnataka, so they eat only rotis. Like, is it region-centric diet? Is it region-centric? Does it have a geographical touch to the diet, what we have? Or like following our own diet after meeting a nutrition, is that correct? Because our fathers, so we have our own staple food. So, which is true?
See, basically, as Indians, our diet is rich carbohydrate. Be it a North Indian, be it a South Indian, be it a Northeast. Okay, of course, geographical locations does matter. That's how we've been, distributed throughout the world. In fact, the very way we look, if you see the people who are in the what do you call, in the Mediterranean, or if you see people maybe in New Zealand, if you see people there, they are different. They look different. So it has a vital role. Geographical locations has definitely a vital role. And if you speak specifically about Indians, I would say most of the Indians, yes, are rich carbohydrate diet. So why it has played a major role is because, not because of too much of carbohydrates which was happening in the past. It is just because how it has been revolutionized today, how it's been combined today, and with the kind of lifestyle which we are living, with the kind of stress which we have, be it at the office or be it at home, you have no time with family, you have no time to talk to your spouse. So when you consider all these things, your stress level is also increasing. So I would say that, irrespective of whatever diet you do, if your stress levels are high, that will definitely add to your weight, is what I feel. So it's mostly got to do with your stress levels and your lifestyle. And of course, a balanced meal is also essential. It's just, if rice is your staple food, maybe you can avoid them eating twice. Once you can eat, as long as you're burning it.
And so we Indians eat a lot of spice. And most of them say that during this COVID-19 situation, that has helped us because that has increased immunity. So what do you want to say about the spice level of Indians?
Spice levels, it is kind of, if you compare it to the Europeans, if you compare it with the Americans, it is more. Spices are more. Spices are good, in fact, it is good. But what happens when you have too much of spicy food? Doesn't go well on your stomach, especially when you have low stomach acid. So I would rather stick to, especially when these days people have Chinese food, and with a little bit of Indian masala to it, which adds more, to the spicy stuff. So there are people who can really digest those spicy food, but it also depends on the stomach acid, I would say. But preferably to be, rather to have a balanced meal is always good. A balanced way of, eating food, even with regard to spicy food.
Krishna, there's a saying like, eat like a king in the morning, yes. Eat like a minister in the lunch, yes. And eat like a beggar in the dinner. So, how do we go about it?
Yeah. So basically, this question, if anybody asks this question, they always have this background. They say that, they said. One day even I want to know who they are actually, who said so. So basically what they're highlighting is eat more in the morning, a little average in the afternoon, and then less in the evening. Okay, but I would say quantity doesn't really matter. Of course, you cannot fill yourself till the brim. There's always should be a gap. Whenever you have food, there always should be you should have that urge to have it some more, but you shouldn't be having. But I would say have a satisfied meal, even if you're having a breakfast, lunch, or a dinner. But as I told you earlier, I would rather stick to a late breakfast and an early dinner. That's always better. So dinner time should always be early. You should have that gap before you sleep. So I would rather stick to this kind of perspective. I don't know if it's according to me.
Kusru, your final words to our viewers, like about nutrition.
Yes. Yeah. The final words, I would say to the viewers, I would rather recommend, especially during this COVID-19, even as you're locked down at home, people have plenty of time. You reduce time of traveling, and also you reduce stress during travel. So why don't you leverage this time by switching your habits and making healthy habits and switching to disciplined lifestyle. And probably you can start off with reducing your sugar intake, maybe in your coffee or tea, and reduce junk snacking. That's something which you can start in this lockdown. And I would rather say that, you continue to live a healthy lifestyle by inculcating habits which really develops a healthy living. And that's my take for the viewers.
Cooking for yourself and having a plant-based diet can do wonders to your health. I think this is the most underappreciated and basic principles about eating. But having a pizza once in a while is okay too. Would you like to know more about fitness coach Christo? So view the description. And if you have any doubts, so shoot those questions in the comment box. Until then, this is Sunil signing off. Bye.